because there's too much adversity in this game, and we need to start attacking it better. And, I mean, I'm responsible for that. And, it's not been going the way I want it to. And that'll change, or probably die trying, but I mean, it's going to change. It's going to get better.
Terry Francona and the Indians try to get things turned around tonight here at Progressive Field under the watchful eye of the Larry Doby statue. They welcome in the defending American League champion, Kansas City Royals. Hi again, everyone. Matt Underwood alongside Rick Manning. Obviously, Terry Francona is a frustrated manager. You've got a frustrated team that's having trouble scoring. And in come the Kansas City Royals, an interesting ball club in that their bullpen is number one in the American League. But overall, their starters have struggled. They're just 10th in the AL. So what do? They go out and deal for one of the best arms on the market.
Well, you're right. Johnny Cueto comes over there. He's certainly going to be a big plus for them. It should be a great ballpark for him to pitch in. He's a number one starter. He won 20 games last year. This year, 7-6. We saw him in Cincinnati. He wasn't good that day. I don't know if maybe trades had something to do with it, but he's certainly going to help the Kansas City Royals. Now, he won't pitch in this series,
right,
but the Indians have to find a way to turn it around, because we know against the Kansas City Royals, it turns into a 6-inning baseball game, So you said their starters have been a little weak. They've got to get on those starters before they get to that bullpen, and hopefully they can get a lead.
What do you see that the Indians can do offensively to get out of this malaise that they're currently mired in?
Well, right now it looks like everybody's feeling sorry for themselves. You've got to get out. You hit your way out. You swing your way out. Nothing that a couple of base hits with guys on base won't cure. It seems like everybody is pressing. They're not getting the job done. You know what? Relax. Trust each other. Move the line. It's very simple. Everybody's, uptight and wrapped to. No, relax, go after it, and play with fun. Enjoy it. Nobody's having fun right now.
Well, one thing that would certainly help the Tribe's cause, some early runs. They have been playing from behind, especially at home, all season long. When we come back, Andre Knott joins us to tell us what was said behind closed doors when the Indians held a team meeting after yesterday's loss to Chicago. Cleveland Indians baseball is brought to you by W.B. Mason, the official office supplier of the Cleveland Indians. By McDonald's, I'm loving it. By your local Toyota dealers. Visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. And by the injury lawyers at Elk & Elk, proud sponsors of the Cleveland Indians. Call 1-800-ELK, Ohio. ball struck him out. And a breaking ball got him. Brings him up. Swing and a miss. He struck him out. All right, we're here at Progressive Field on a beautiful night in downtown Cleveland as the Indians take on the Kansas City Royals. KC leading the Central by 7.5 games over Minnesota. Indians, unfortunately, now have lost 4 straight. They've fallen into the cellar all by their lonesome in the AL Central. And after yesterday's game, which completed the 4-game sweep at the hands of the White Sox, the players closed the doors. They held a team meeting afterwards, as is usually the case. You got emotions running high. Guys obviously aren't happy, and Andre Knott joins us down on the field. Sometimes comments can be maybe misinterpreted or misconstrued.
Just a little bit. And when you're Jason Kipnis, you're in your 4th year, and everything individually is going well, and you want to be a leader, sometimes the words don't come out completely correct. The one thing he wanted to make sure of today is, look, the meeting was put together because this team has to start playing better and take responsibility for each other. And this isn't on their manager, Terry Francona. It's on the 25-man roster.
Tito's our manager. He's not our babysitter. And we got a lot of men in this locker room, and we got to start acting like it and holding each other accountable. And he can't watch everything. He can't be there for every thing. So we need to hold ourselves accountable. And if it means calling each other out and stuff to make sure we're doing the right thing, so be it. I think we're not questioning anybody's manhood by telling them that they need to do better in some stuff. This game's hard enough. We know you're going to fail a bunch, but let's just make sure we're giving it 100% in effort and trying to help this team in any way we can. I think we got that across.
Every team goes through this throughout the course of the season. And right now the Indians got to try and snap out of it right now. And you know what? You start pointing fingers, you look the other way. Everybody has to be accountable for themselves. You go back, you look in the mirror. What can I do to make this thing better? And if you take care of yourself, I don't think you have much to worry about. You just go up with the utmost confidence. And right now they're not playing with a lot of confidence.
Look, at the end of the day, it may be cliche, but it starts with the man in the mirror.
Sure.
You've got to answer to yourself, did I give my best effort? Did I do everything I could do today? And then you go from there. I think the one thing that Jason Kipnis wanted to make clear is that this was none of his comments were in any way indicative of anything that Terry Francona has not done as manager. He's tried everything. And I know for a fact, being in that clubhouse, he creates an atmosphere that does everything to give these players every opportunity to be successful. He is never in their way, so to speak.
No.
So I think Jason just wanted to make that clear, that when the comment about responsibility, accountability, he meant that starts with us as individual players. We have to be accountable to ourselves and to our teammates. And well, hopefully the message was sent and received, and we'll see how they carry it out as they welcome in a very talented Kansas City Royals ball club here tonight. Cody Anderson is on the hill. Let's take a look at the starting lineup for Ned Yost and the Royals, brought to you by Toyota. Alcides Escobar in the leadoff spot, followed by Mike Moustakas. Lorenzo Cain will bat third. Eric Hosmer has swung it well against the Indians all season long. He'll hit cleanup. Then it's Kendry Morales, Salvador Perez, Alex Rios, Omar Infante, and Gerard Dyson.
And tonight's Northern Ohio Honda starting pitcher is going to be Cody Anderson, making his second home start this year. No, he's had two. This will be his third, And he is 1-0 at home with a .63 earned run average. And his last start against the Milwaukee Brewers, I'll tell you what, similar teams, they jumped him early. They got ahead of him. He gave up a lot of hits with 2 outs. This is a Kansas City team that can be just as aggressive as that Brewer team was, so he's going to have to locate and make quality pitches early in the count. Let's hope he can do that. Let's check out the defense behind him. It's brought to you by Chrysler. And it stacks up this way. Brantley in left, Bourne in center, Moss in right, Urshela at third, Lindor at short, Kipnis at second, Santana's at first, Gomes doing the catching.
Gary Cederstrom, the crew chief, will be at first base. Lance Barksdale has the plate. Tom Woodring, Eric Cooper at second and third base, respectively. Our window system's game time temperature, perfect. 81 degrees. It says 71% humidity. Doesn't feel that bad, though, here at the yard. Just a light breeze blowing in from center field. So we're ready to go. Ned Yost, his ball club, I wouldn't say they're running away with it, but they've opened up a pretty nice lead in the division. 7.5 games on this, the 27th of July. Cody Anderson into the windup. And a first pitch is swung on and missed. No surprise that Escobar goes after the first pitch. This is an aggressive Royals lineup. And Cody Anderson, a guy who attacks the strike zone. Doesn't walk many. Routine bouncer to second base, 1 out. Keys to the game are brought to you by Wayside Furniture. For Cody Anderson, keep Kansas City honest inside. So he's got to pound the inside part of the plate.
Yeah.
Don't let him just lean out and take him the other way all night long. Well, it'd be nice to see him bust loose on offense.
Well, it'd be nice to see him get some hits with runners on base and get a lead. And then you can bust loose.
There's Mike Moustakas. Out of play. Moustakas putting together a very solid campaign. .296 average. 10 home runs. Breaking ball down on the dirt.
And he swung, though. He couldn't check it. And, you know, I think these guys, just from that swing, Matty, I think he was watching a lot of video knowing that Anderson throws a lot of strikes, and he was ready to swing before he even released it.
Well, Moustakas this year has hit everything in sight against Cleveland. A .417 mark, 15 hits and 36 at bats.
Yeah, he did that last year. He hit the Indians very well. That was Anderson's changeup, which was high, and usually that changeup is a very big pitch for him. Very good one, too.
Moustakas punches it into left field, a base hit. So he continues to hit the Indians.
Well, that to me is the approach where he started doing it right at the start of this year. That was a great pitch. That's a better job of hitting the baseball. That is off the plate. That's 6 inches or more outside. And that's what you do. That's giving in and making contact. With 2 strikes, he takes what they give him. They had the shift on. He gets a base hit. Good job of hitting by Moustakas. That's about as even as you can get right there. And he was a dead pull hitter last year.
When they say use the whole field, he does. Lorenzo Cain. Cain having a terrific year, batting over .300, but just 4 hits in his last 21 at-bats.
Yeah, this guy has elevated himself into the middle part of the lineup, into that number 3 hole, and has really developed. Has some pop. He can run. 22 doubles. 18 stolen bases. Yeah, you see in the month of July, 5 dingers, 13 ribbies, and a nice .368 batting average.
The 2-0 pitch. He went inside and just missed. 3 balls, no strikes. Kansas City is beginning a 10-game road trip tonight. They've got these 3 against the Indians. Then they'll go to Toronto to face the hard-hitting Blue Jays club for 4, and then go on to Detroit for a 3-game series to wrap up the road trip. What will be interesting to see between now and then is what happens to the Detroit Tigers. Will they sell, as some have speculated, or will they add a piece? Tigers are still 2 games below .500, but their manager, Brad Osmond, at least publicly is saying that they're still alive, they're still in it. 3-1 pitch. He walked him. That's only the 4th walk issued by Cody Anderson in 33 innings of work. But Lorenzo Cain, he kept pounding him inside, but Kane was not about to chase after it.
Yeah, and he didn't hit inside for any strikes, so he didn't have to swing that at bat.
So 2 on, 1 out for Eric Hosmer. He's hit safely in 8 straight games with a plate appearance. He's gone 15 for 31 during that stretch. So be careful here. Hit high and deep, and it's not coming back. Eric Hosmer with a 3-run homer. And the Royals will play from in front. They lead it 3-0. He stays locked in at the dish. That's now 16 for his last 32.
Now, don't think Hosmer knew he was going to try and get ahead after the walk to Kane. And boy, was he ready for it. Check it out on our Nissan pitch tracker. A fastball, belt high, out over the plate. The extension into left center field. And again, it's a 3-run first inning for a visiting club coming in here. And Indians pitching another first inning homer.
That is the 20th first inning home run allowed by the Indians this year. Only the Blue Jays have allowed more. They've given up 21. So Kendry Morales, the switch hitting DH. Weekly taps one to short where Giovanni Urshela is playing with the shift on, and there are 2 down. Salvador Perez, 15 homers, 41 runs batted in on the year. Takes low and away, ball 1. Among American League catchers, Perez, with his 15 home runs, tied for the most. Second in hits, second in doubles, fourth in RBIs. Lindor, the shortstop, long throw, got him, and the inning is over. But Eric Hosmer continues a very torrid stretch with a 3-run first inning homer. The Indians are coming to bat. Take a look at the Indians starting lineup, brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Jason Kipnis leads it off, followed by Francisco Lindor. Michael Brantley hitting third. David Murphy in the cleanup spot, followed by Carlos Santana. And it's Brandon Moss, who's put up good numbers against KC this year. Jan Gomes, Michael Bourne, and Giovanni Urshela rounded out.
And Edison Volquez is our Northern Ohio Honda starting pitcher. And for the Royals, he is making his team-leading 21st start this year, his second start against the Indians this year, and his 5th in his career. Back on May 7th, he only went 3 innings, and he walked 6. He came out after 3 because he had a blister on his right hand. And in his career, he is 1-2 with an 11.48 ERA in his 4 career starts. So I guess patience that first time through to see if he's going to be around the strike zone.
Line drive base hit in the left field for Jason Kipnis. He comes out swinging, and the Indians get their leadoff man aboard.
Yeah, he's looking for that first pitch fastball, and he got on it. And there you go, base hit to left field. Trying to get ahead, he figures he got 3 runs. He doesn't want to fall behind.
Volquez fires, and Francisco Lindor takes a strike. Lindor's been on a good roll offensively for the Indians. He's hit in 5 straight games, going 8 for his last 19. This one's popped to shallow left. In comes Gerard Dyson. 1 away. Our stat of the game brought to you by Buick. Against the Kansas City Royals, among Indians with at least 150 at-bats, Michael Brantley with a .335 mark. Only Manny Ramirez and Robbie Alomar have had more success against this Kansas City bunch. And Brantley figures to have plenty of opportunities to improve upon that going forward.
No doubt about it. It'd be nice to see if the Indians could get on the board here in the first and answer that 3-run top half.
Fouled right back. It's 0-1.
The Royals this year, in Volquez's 20 starts, are 14-6. And he's pitched well in his last 4 starts to a 1.85 ERA, but he's just 1-1. 3-4 in the AL Central this year. But he gets very tough with runners in scoring position, just a 1.82 average.
Line drive, base hit, left center field. That's in the alley, but Dyson, the speedster, cuts it off. He'll hold Brantley to a single. Kipnis goes to third. Indians at the corners with a 1 out.
There you go. Good swing. Stay on it. Go the other way. Now you have them at the corners. That ball was elevated mid-thigh, and Brantley just took it the other way. Kipnis able to get to third base. Now it's up to David Murphy. You got a RBI out there at third and less than 2 outs.
Murphy digs in. And the pitch is bottom of the zone for a strike. Middle infielders laid back double play depth. Corner infielders roughly even with the bags. Hosmer holding Brantley at first. Moustakas a few steps behind third. Murphy pops one to center. Kipnis will tag.
This will be interesting.
Kane has got a gun. He's going to throw home. Kipnis going to try to score. He is out at the plate. And that ends the first inning. Kipnis tried to beat the tag with a head-first dive, but a good throw by Kane and a good tag by Perez. It's 3-0 KC after 1.
It's baseball all season long with MLB.com at bat on your smartphone or tablet. You can stay connected with live radio broadcast, stats, breaking news, and more. Download MLB.com at bat, the #1 app for live baseball.
Lorenzo Cain's 5th outfield assist ends the bottom of the first, keeps the Tribe off the board. And now Alex Rios leads off the second for Kansas City. Out of play. Count quickly 0-2. White Sox continue to swing the bats. They jump on Boston for a 4 spot in the first at Fenway. Red Sox now coming to bat.
Wow,
already
hot,
down 4-0. Yeah,
they're rolling.
Speaking of the Red Sox, Boston sent Shane Victorino to the Angels earlier this afternoon. And in another trade, the A's sent their closer Tyler Clippard to the New York Mets.
Okay.
0-2 pitch. So the Indians will head to Oakland to open a series against the A's. And
minus a closer.
Yeah, the A's will be reshuffling their bullpen. Missed inside, 2-2. Combs wants a changeup. 2-2.
Better
foul.
get it down. Left that one upstairs. He left a couple upstairs in Milwaukee as well. Those first few starts he had, boy, his control was impeccable. Seemed like he kept everything down.
Swung on and missed. Cody Anderson strikes him out. First K tonight, 1 down in the second.
Well, you want to talk about staying behind and setting yourself in great position. A one-hop throw. That was outstanding by Kane. He stayed behind it beautifully, didn't rush, hit his cutoff man even though nobody else was right there. That is a perfect throw to get Kipnis.
17th assist for the Royals outfield this year. And now Omar Infante has just left the building. That's his first home run of the year. So, just the other day, Carlos Sanchez hit his first home run of his major league career. And now tonight, Omar Infante hits the first of the season. Infante, 335 at-bats this year without a home run. He's got number 1. Now they're giving him the cold shoulder in the dugout.
Yeah, right. He
went
going
right
all
down
the way down. Yeah, there's one that eked back to the inside part of the plate. And that went to the home run porch. So 2 home runs has Kansas City on the board. And there's one at him. That'll wake up their bench.
Let's see what happens here. Yep, everybody's getting their warning. Home plate umpire Lance Barksdale issues warnings to both benches. After Lance Barksdale's really giving it to Yan Gomes. What's he have to do with anything?
Well, there's obviously something going on down there that we don't know about. He came out. He wanted to probably nip it in the bud and say, that's it. One guy gets hit. But I'll tell you what, I noticed everybody on that Kansas City bench got up, and they're out at the top step now. So Barksdale, he did issue warnings, right, to both sides?
Yep, he did.
All right, let's see how quick it's up. They come right there at the knee. There's timeout, and now he's going to walk out, and he makes sure everything's set, and he's going to warn you right there, and he's warning the bench. There it is. And that's a warning. Now Gomes is going to go. I think that's what Gomes was talking about. Why the warning? That would be my guess.
Now Barksdale was really ripping into him.
Well, he took control of the situation, didn't he?
I guess. So much for letting the players handle it. Throw to first in the dirt dug out by Santana.
They don't let the players handle it anymore.
In there for a strike. Royals have jumped the Indians early here. A 3-run homer in the first, a solo shot in the second. It's already 4-0. He takes off, now stops. They've got him pegged at first, but he couldn't get the tag on him. Gomes made a quick snap fire to first, but Santana, when he spun around, his glove hit the bag and not Dyson, and so he's able to get back safely.
Well, Dyson took off. He was going to steal a base and stopped. He didn't feel he had a good enough jump, so he is able to get back in time. Let's see. Santana comes off the bag. He came back on the grass. He's quick enough to get back and get the hand in there.
Oh-2 hit to right field. Moss is there. 2 down. That'll bring up Mike Moustakas, who singled and scored in the first. To second base, where Kipnis with the outfield shift on. Throws him out. And the inning is over. Omar Infante, his first home run of the season. Makes it 4-0 Royals. Carlos Santana lead off the bottom of the second for Cleveland. Down 4-0 to the Royals. Inside ball 1.
Yeah, backed him off that first pitch with a sort of change up away.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Big bouncer foul, first base side. Santana so far on the homestand, just 2 for 15 at the plate. Count stays 1 ball, 2 strikes. Edinson Volquez signed a 2-year deal this past offseason to pitch for Kansas City. And now he'll be reunited with his former Cincinnati teammate, Johnny Cueto, who the Reds traded to Kansas City yesterday. The 1-2 pitch. Hit well, deep center field. Kane is back, looking up. It is gone. Carlos Santana sent one beyond the trees and straightaway center field. Indians are on the board. It's his 11th home run of the year, and it's a 4-1 ball game.
Well, you watch the location. They wanted to go inside. Perez slides in. He gave him a lot of swinging room, and he smoked that ball to center field. They wanted a fastball in. What did they do? It leaks out. It was outside. And he ends up hitting it straight away center field. He missed his target by a bunch, and Santana made him pay for it. So, Tribe on the board. It's 4-1.
Brandon Moss takes outside, 2-0. Volquez has a very good changeup. But when you're behind in the count and you throw it, you've almost got to throw it for a strike.
Well, yeah, you want to throw anything you can for a strike when you're behind, and he wasn't going to give Moss the fastball. There it is, 3-0.
That changeup misses low, and it's ball 4. So a homer and a walk, and now Yan Gomes to the plate.
Let's check the Royals defense behind Volquez, and I brought to you by Chrysler. It's Dyson in left, Kane in center, Rios over in right, Moustakas at third, Escobar at short, Infante at second, Hosmer at first, Perez doing the catching.
Gold Glover Alex Gordon on the DL, so they lose a little defensively in left field with Dyson and the platoon of Paulo Orlando. They don't lose much in speed and athletic ability, but Gordon's got the goods with the gold gloves.
Yes, he does. And he's probably the best left fielder in the game. There's talks that Kansas City may be looking to upgrade that situation, another outfielder.
Well, you got to figure if you're the general manager, you can leave no stone unturned. So imagine the amount of phone calls and conversations that are going on.
I'm sure about 18 hours a day, I would imagine.
Gomes to center field, but this one not deep enough. Kane makes the grab, 1 away. Let's go down to Andre Nadeau, who has more in that left field situation for Kansas City.
Yeah, since July 8th, they've been without Gordon. And you know what? Gerard Dyson never will be Eric Gordon, Gordon in the field. But he did throw a guy out the first 2 days that he did replace Gordon. He's only hitting 179, and Orlando's only hitting 250 since July 8th. That's why they're looking and listening to people. But defensively, they love what Dyson has done. And talking to some of their people, they go, look, Gordon's the best, but this kid ain't far behind.
Well, and that's where with Kansas City right now, the way this club is swinging the bats, they can deal with the lack of offense in left field because Kane has picked it up. He's having a terrific year, as I pointed out earlier. Rios, he's a veteran. He's not going to carry the team, but he's giving you that veteran presence. They've got power at first. They've got pretty good stick at third right now. Middle infielders, all you need those guys to do is pick it and make the plays defensively. And they've got one of the best offensive catchers in the game. So they get offense where a lot of teams don't behind the plate.
Defensively, they're second to none. They're as good as you can get. Outfield, a lot of range. In a big, spacious field where they have to play. Kauffman Stadium, that's a huge ballpark. That's why I think when Cueto comes over there, it'll be, you go from Cincinnati to that ballpark, that's what a difference it is.
Giovanni Urshela takes a strike. Urshela's hit in 5 straight games himself, going 6 for his last 15. And a line shot to left, and a short hop by Dyson. I don't know if he was fooled by that ball or if it was just hit so hard that he never had a chance to get in on it.
Well, it's a line drive right at you, and it had some top spin. And I don't think he wanted to make that, play where it gets by you.
It happened to Ryan Rayburn yesterday, and it turned into a triple.
Watch, that's a line drive. That's the toughest play, so it sort of froze him. He's normally a center fielder, and that ball got him in a tough spot. He didn't want to get it back. He did not want it to get by him, so he kept it in front, though. So there's first and second now with 2 outs. That ball had top spin. They're going to give him some time.
Outfielders normally don't have to worry about those in-between tricky hops like that, but that ball was hit so hard. It was very similar to the one that skipped by Ryan Rayburn yesterday.
Yep.
Well, top of the order, Jason Kipnis. Chance for the Indians here with 2 on, 2 out. Climb back in it. Kipnis lined a single to left on the first pitch he saw in inning number 1. Barksdale calls it a strike. And it's hard to believe that Volquez has already walked a batter, and yet he's only thrown 6 balls out of the 25 pitches he's thrown.
Yeah, he's been ahead of almost every hitter.
One and 2 the count.
That was the changeup away. In his first start against the Indians, I told you he walked 6 batters in 3 innings. He ended up leaving because he had a blister on his right hand. I don't know how much that affected him, but he looks much better already in this game.
Back out of play. Brandon Moss, the runner at second base. Giovanni Urshela is at first with 2 down on the second. Kipnis, the tying run at the plate. Little tapper.
Oh, yeah, that's a perfect. That's
Swinging
just
bunt single, and the bases are loaded.
perfect. I knew it would have had to be Perez coming out from behind the plate if you were going to get Kipnis. Boy, you take it. Perfectly placed on the full swing. Look at that ball. It was a changeup. Perez can't get it, and he says, nope, just sit down and hold it. The bases are loaded now. That's the good thing. The bad thing is the bases are loaded now because that's where the Indians have had the toughest time this year is with the bases loaded.
They have been, in a word, dreadful. A 137 average with the bases loaded this year, and with 2 outs, just 3 for 40. Lindor 0 for 5 in bases loaded scenarios. Fly to left his first time up. And a foul, and the bat goes right into one of our field mics.
It's a couple of times we've seen Lindor lose his bat when he swings. You know, it's been such a tough year for the Indians with bases loaded. Take a look at this. He fouls it off and then loses the bat. Goes down into one of the diamond suites. It's been a year for the Indians where they have walked more times with the bases loaded than they have hits. 12 walks to 10 hits. And 8 sac flies, although there's 2 outs here.
Lindor down on the count 0-1. And now it's 0-2. It's almost as if Lindor's swinging harder and Volquez is throwing softer.
No, that's exactly what happens. You get into situations like this, you slow it down. The young hitters will speed it up.
Two-strike pitch.
Show fastball up out of the zone, see if he'd chase it. 0-2 count. You can see how high Perez is. He's a big guy back there. I don't think he had to sort of crouch to get up there. He could have just put his glove up there. Now, use your head. Come back with another off-speed pitch, or is he going to go double up on the high fastball? Breaking ball.
Right back up the middle. And a diving attempt at second base. Alcides Escobar tags the bag ahead of Kipnis, and the inning is over. Indians leave them loaded, but they get on the board. The solo homer by Santana. It's now 4-1 Kansas City. Lorenzo Cain, Eric Hosmer, Kenny Morales due up. One on one the count.
There he pulled the string, and he hasn't thrown Kane many strikes, but he was waiting for the fastball on that pitch. They've been very aggressive. 16 swings out of their 31 pitches, now 17 out of 33.
Left center, and the center fielder Bourne makes the catch, one down. AT&T Uverse rewind, first inning with 2 on and 1 out. Eric Hosmer sent one out of here to the bleachers in left. A 3-run homer, his 10th of the year.
Batting fifth for Kansas City, Leverage.
To first base, Santana will flip it to Anderson. 2 down.
Well, another Sugardale Dollar Dog Night will take place tomorrow as we play the middle game of this series with the Kansas City Royals. Fans can enjoy Dollar Dogs all night long. Get your tickets at Indians.com.
Kenry Morales grounded out in the first, his only time up.
This guy's been a great addition for the Royals this year. Veteran presence in the middle part of the lineup to protect Hosmer. Switch hitter. 65 ribbies on the year, 12 homers.
Coming off his 4th 3-hit game of the season yesterday. He's tied for 5th in the league with 25 doubles.
There he is, third. Not far behind. Donaldson, 68. Look at the Blue Jays, top 2. That doesn't surprise you, does it? The way they score runs in Toronto.
That'll be a big series, that 4-gamer between the Royals and Jays next.
It's a good swing.
2-out single to left keeps the inning alive.
Yeah, stayed on it, didn't try to do too much. Good swing, line drive the other way. Hit number 4 for Kansas City.
Salvador Perez. If Salvador Perez worked in an office, he would not be a popular guy come Monday morning. He has some of his best numbers of anybody on Mondays, but so far tonight, 0 for 2. We'll go to the bottom of the third, 4-1 Kansas City. Stay tuned later in the game for Miller Time, brought to you by Miller Lite. Bottom of the third, Indians down 4-1. Brantley, Murphy, Santana due for Cleveland. Brantley singled his first time up. Showed you earlier his career numbers, 335 against the Royals. Upstairs, 2 balls, no strikes. Oh, my. Brantley turns away in disgust. Oh, dugout's giving it to him. That was clearly a pitch that was low and out of the strike zone. But called a strike for whatever reason.
Not even close. Not even close.
And then he strikes, or he went after that pitch.
Well, he's regrouping right now.
Yeah, it's almost like you get that pitch called, and then you.
Well, yeah, and then he expands your strike zone on the next one, but he's got still has one big one left.
Low and inside, full count. And the payoff pitch, it's ball 4, so maybe Brantley caught a break.
Well, look at this one. Now Volquez is turning around saying, I can't believe it. Well, he gave you one, and now he just took one. That was a strike, so now it evens out. See how it goes? That's a strike. The other one, the 2-0, was a ball 3, so it's a wash.
That's a makeup call, right?
Yeah, it is. Sure is. Just call a strike, and a ball. Everything will be fine. Don't make up anything.
Here's David Murphy. Murphy flied out, and it wound up being a double play to end the first inning. Sent a ball to center field that Kane caught, and then threw home to double up Kipnis, who tagged and tried to score. Strike home. Line drive and a base hit in the left field for David Murphy. And now the Indians with their first 2 aboard here in the third inning.
This is situations now you have to take advantage of. Down early in the game, Murph gets on a pitch right here. About thigh-high fastball away, got on top of it. Put a good swing, line drive, base hit, first and second, nobody out. Now, take advantage of this situation. You can't give it up.
Well, first time up, Carlos Santana took advantage of a pitch that missed its target, and he socked it out of here to straightaway center field for his 11th home run of the season. It was a solo shot. And he takes low ball 1. Take another look.
Yeah, watch, you're sitting inside. It runs away. Ended out over the plate, and he got extension on it. Prior to that pitch, he was trying to pull everything, even though he was leading that inning off. This is a different situation. You got runners on base now and nobody out. There you go.
Center field again. On the run is Kane, and makes the catch in the middle of the warning track. Brantley tags. He goes to third. Murphy retreats to first. 1 out. But, boy, Santana just missed, driving one out of here again.
Well, a productive out. He hit the ball right on the nose. It was a good swing. He didn't try to pull it. Very good swing. But now Brantley moves up, so you have a chance to score a run with this out here. Kane had to run over. Brantley goes back, tags up, goes to third base. Now it's up to Brandon Moss to get that guy in from third and cut the lead in half.
Moss walked his first time up.
They've already walked as many times tonight, the Indians have, as they did in the 4-game series against the White Sox. Only 2 walks.
Swing and a miss to even the count. Brandon Moss has had 103 at-bats with runners in scoring position this year. I mean, that is far and away the most on the club. And has just 19 hits.
Well, here's one. You'd love to get a hit, but you have to get the run in, is what you do. Still early in this game. You cut that 3-run lead, make it at least a 2-run lead.
Called a strike on the outside corner. It's 1-2. Michael Brantley, the runner at third. David Murphy down at first. Volquez deals. Checks on a ball that was outside, and the count evens at 2-2.
He was nibbling there, but he could afford to because he was ahead in the count. He was trying to get a swing and miss, see if Moss would expand his strike zone. It was well off the plate, about a foot, but he didn't. He didn't go after it.
Now the 2-2. Strikes him out. He went back inside with that pitch.
The same one he got him to swing. It's a changeup inside.
First strikeout of the night.
Well, it comes at the right time if you're Volquez. If you're Brandon Moss and the Indians, no. Changeup inside. Second time he swung and missed at that pitch. Couldn't catch up to it, so now it's going to be up to Gomes to pick him up.
Gomes fly to center, his only time up. Hit off of his foot. The inning began with a walk to Brantley and a single by Murphy. A deep fly out by Santana, then the strikeout by Moss. And now it's up to Yan Gomes with 2 down. Outside, 1-1. The 1-1. Chop foul, third base side. Volquez ready now with a 1-2 offering. In the dirt, blocked by Perez. Murphy had bluffed a move towards second base. As it turns out, had he kept going, would have been a good time to go.
I thought it would have been a nice time, but you figure a breaking ball. It was in the dirt. But then again, Murph is not a base stealer. He hasn't stolen one this year. He's been caught one time, so you can't take the chance down 3.
Oh, a foul ball. Terry Francona, his club just seems to be grinding the bat into sawdust with these run-scoring chances. It's really been that way all year, but it has really been magnified over the last week to 10 days or so.
Well, first 2 innings, they already have 4 left on. 4 stranded. They've got 2 on now, unless they can get a 2-out base hit.
The 2-2. To center field, Kane charging in and makes the catch to end the inning. Indians have stranded 6 through the first 3. They trail it 4-1.
Some friends and catch a game at the new Corner Bar. Open to all fans at Progressive Field. It's a $13 district tickets. They're presented by Sports Time Ohio. Going quickly, so get yours today. Tickets are available at Indians.com.
Last year on May the 29th, the Kansas City Royals changed hitting coaches. Pedro Grifol, who had began the year as the Kansas City hitting coach, was reassigned. He became the catching instructor. He's still on the staff, so it's not like they wanted to get rid of him necessarily. They just felt like they had to make a change. So Dale Swaim was hired to become the hitting coach. And the Royals, I mean, the rest of the year, you can look at the numbers and say, well, did they improve? Obviously, they went to the World Series, so there had to be some type of improvement. Numerically or statistically, you look at it, they averaged about a half a run more per game the rest of the season than they did in the first 52 games.
Okay.
They hit some home runs. More than anything, they started winning. As Rios is out on strikes for the second time tonight, one away. But I think the one thing you have to look at, Rick, is how important is continuity. For Kansas City, Dale Swaim, when he was hired last year, marked the 6th hitting coach since 2012.
Okay.
Last year was only 2014, Mike.
Yeah, I hear you.
So
they went through him.
You know, remember George Brett had come back?
Well, he said
filled in
he
for a while.
wasn't going to stay, though, when he did come back. I'm here to help you out for a little while, and I'm going to step aside, which he did.
You know Dale Swaim.
Yes.
What do you think the impact there's Don Wakamatsu, who's one of the key members of the coaching staff. What kind of an impact has Swaim had, you think, on these Royals hitters?
Well, he can definitely get to him as far as thinking about it. But I'll tell you what helped him out, too, is Morales coming in there, a veteran hitter. Rios maybe getting in there, who got off to a good start, and a couple of these young kids maturing. You know, he spent time, Swaim did with Ned Yost. He took over for him when they fired Yost, if you remember.
Down in Milwaukee,
that's
right.
Because he came up. They both were with the Brewers at some point in time. So there was some familiarity there.
Bouncing ball to Santana. It'll be a quick inning for Cody Anderson on just 6 pitches. The Royals go 1-2-3. Strongest fan photo. Use the hashtag STODataStrongFan, and you just might see yourself in an upcoming telecast brought to you by T-Mobile. Bottom of the 4th, Michael Bourne, Giovanni Urshela, Jason Kipnis due up for the try. Bourne 0 for 1 fly to center, his only time up. Edinson Volquez on the hill for Kansas City tonight. He came up with the Texas Rangers. They signed him as a young kid out of the Dominican Republic. And then they traded him in 2007 to Cincinnati in the Josh Hamilton deal.
I remember that.
That's before anyone really knew what Josh Hamilton was going to become. Obviously, he
had
blossomed.
a good year with Cincinnati, though, that year before after they traded him.
1-0 pitch. He blossomed in Texas, but so did Volquez. He blossomed in Cincinnati. Won 17 games in 2008 for the Reds, 17-6 with a .321 earned run average. But then after that, it just seemed like an avalanche of bad things for Volquez after that. Started with Tommy John surgery in 2009. Missed most of the season as you take a look at our Player profile brought to you by Levin Furniture. And then 2010, he missed a couple of months of the season when he tested positive for a banned substance. But, it took him a while, I think, to bounce back from the Tommy John. And I'm sure there were folks that thought maybe his career was about to be over, as that pitch looked like it was another call in favor of Volquez. Terry Francona not thrilled with that. And Bourne pops the 3-1 pitch up. And it's caught in foul ground. One away. Our great clip of the game from yesterday, Giovanni Urshela, one of the few bright spots for the Indians.
Well, he didn't even start the game. He went in late for defense in the 8th and ended up hitting the 9th. Leadoff triple, scored the only run for the Indians in the bottom half of the 9th inning.
2 years ago, Volquez had an ERA of 6.01 with San Diego. Imagine that in 27 games. He was
In
9
that
and 10.
ballpark.
Yeah, an ERA of over 6. And they just basically said, we're done. He signed on with the Pirates. I'm sorry, he went to sign with the Dodgers as a free agent, pitched in a handful of games to close out the season, and then signed with the Pirates before last year. Career resurrection. He went 13-7 with a 3.04 ERA, made almost every start. I think he, let's see. Yeah, 32 starts, so he was out there every time they needed him. And parlayed that into a 2-year deal with the Royals.
Right, with a mutual option for 2017. Well, he'll get together with his old roommate, Johnny Cueto.
Uh-oh, Urshela tees off deep down the left side, but it is going to hook foul. Boy, he absolutely smoked it. That's out onto the plaza. It's headed to the arena.
It's an off-speed pitch. Was it the changeup down and in? Stayed in his nitro zone. He just got out in front of it a hair.
Got to be alert out on that porch. That almost picked somebody off. The 1-2.
Well, again, the Indians, the first 3 innings have had opportunities. 16 batters, 12 of them had at-bats with at least a runner on base. They're 1 for 6 with runners in scoring position. I told you that's when Volquez gets tough, is when they have a 182 batting average with runners in scoring position this year.
The 2-2. One out here in the 4th. That goes flying down toward Andre.
That's that was the ugly finder. Oh, it found him.
2 down. Second strikeout for Volquez.
Well, he got a piece of it, but it stayed into the glove of Perez, and there goes the bat. That's called the Andre finder. Look at that. Just missed him. He was heads up. We're going to get him some catcher's gear. Mask, chest protector, shin guards.
Looked like he was back in his running back days trying to pick up an outside linebacker on a blitz.
He missed him again.
Jason Kipnis takes a strike. Kipnis is 2 for 2 with a pair of singles. Way outside, 2 balls and a strike.
Another multi-hit game for Kipnis. That's 36 on the year. Prince Fielder has 40. Ian Kinsler has 36 as well. They're in second place. Kinsler and Kipnis.
The 2-1 offering. Well, that's hit hard to center. Kane racing back and makes the catch. Boy, he can cover some ground in center field. Indians go 1-2-3 for the first time tonight. It remains 4-1 Kansas City. Brought to you by your Northern Ohio Honda dealers. By the Cleveland Clinic. Call for an appointment today. And by the game-changing all-new Ford F-150. The future is tough. It's a 4-1 Kansas City lead as we go to the 5th inning here at Progressive Field. Cody Anderson breezed through the 4th inning. He's thrown 10 consecutive strikes. So he's in attack mode, aggressive. It's just that in that 1st inning, they got all over him. And now, Alcides Escobar gets all over that pitch. Here's the throw to second base by Brantley, and it's a close play. He's out.
Well, he's telling him to come check. He felt he got his foot in there. He's telling him to hold on a second to come check.
Brantley made a terrific throw from left field. And Kipnis quickly slapped the tag down. Ned Yost looking back, waiting.
He's waiting. They're trying to take a look. Let's see the throw. He took a sort of a strange turn at first. Let's see. He might.
He's going to ask him to go take a look at it.
He's going to come check it out. He does. He wants a replay. I'll tell you, the tag comes up on the thigh. Watch on the back of the leg. There it is. Now, is that front foot on the base or is it off? That's going to be the call. We'll have to see it again from the other angle, and I don't know if they will. Here's one. Looked like his foot was on the base, but did it come off? He's saying, I got my foot in there. Well,
here's a good angle.
There
maybe.
You go. Let's see, because the tag is, gosh, you see, his foot got to the bag about the same time as it. This is going to be a tough one to overturn. Nice throw by Brantley. And when I was watching Escobar go around first base, he was thinking double, but he could have made a sharper turn, I think, at first. Still a bang-bang play at second, no matter how you look at it.
Tom Woodring on your right made the call. The crew chief, Gary Cedarstrom, on your left.
Escobar, in his own mind, well, he wants the double, thinks he's safe. But we'll see what Kipnis thought. There he's standing out there, waiting for him. They're looking on the scoreboard to see if they get another replay. It was really close. But the call is out. So it may take a little bit. They're going to have to see. We had, 3 different angles to look at it, and it was still tough to tell.
They're showing it on the stadium
video
board right now, which is what everybody's looking at on your picture there.
Any replay we saw, Matt, is what they're showing. It was tough to tell on any replay that we saw. So they're going to have maybe other angles in New York if they want to overturn this.
I think by the look of everyone's face that you've seen while they watch the replay, it's kind of the same as ours.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know.
I know. It's really close. And watch this. He's going to be out. They can't overturn it. Oh, they did overturn it.
A double for Escobar to lead off the 5th for Kansas City.
I'll be darned. Then they had a different. I'd like to see that shot that they had. It goes as a double. Number 17. Boy, and that's a big play right there because the Indians have to keep it shut down. There you come. It was close. He gets the front foot in. It doesn't look like he really comes off the bag after that front foot hits because his back foot is going to follow. And watch, that front foot's on. Here comes the back foot. He never left the bag.
Yeah, I think it's
so. It really was a good call.
Mike Moustakas looks at a ball in the dirt. Nice block by Gomes.
Say this is a very big inning here for Cody Anderson to try and put a 0 on that board. We're getting to the point where you can't afford to give them anything else because the Indians are still down 3. And this turns into, like when you play Kansas City, a 6-inning game.
Their bullpen number 1 in the league.
Yes, and they've been pitching very well.
Inside 2-0. The 2-0 pitch. Hit to Kipnis. And he'll throw out Moustakas, who does move Escobar to third base with 1 out.
Yeah, gets his job done.
Let's go down to Andre.
Lorenzo Cain hit his 11th home run of the season yesterday. And talking to Terry Francona, he believes the run that this team made to the World Series last year changed Lorenzo Cain as a player. Says he's becoming one of the best players in the league. He's hands down one of the top center fielders. But suddenly now that he's in the middle of this lineup in between Moustakas and Hosmer, he says it's changed who he is. And he said you can't just put a lefty in there late in the game and think they're going to get through those 3 guys. You have to respect what Cain can do with the bat.
Indians bring the infield in with 1 out. Cain is a perfect example of a guy who, understandably, and this is it happens in probably with every organization. You watch a guy, and at some point, patience runs out, and people just throw their hands up and say, "This guy's never going to be the player we thought he was going to be." But with Lorenzo Cain, patience has been rewarded.
Well, he came over from the Milwaukee Brewers in that trade for Zach Greinke. Him and Escobar, and boy, has that trade paid off.
Well, it's that the talent was never in doubt. People saw the talent, they saw the ability, but it never translated consistently. And so I think people were just like, this guy's never going to be the player we thought.
Late bloomer because he didn't play a lot of baseball early.
It's true. We've talked about that before.
Right.
But I agree with Andre and what Terry Francona said. I mean, having success on the big stage can do wonders for one's confidence. And I think he got to a point last year where he said, you know what? I am good enough.
Sure. The whole team took on that whole approach when they went into the playoffs. When you think about it, they won 8 straight going into the World Series.
Anderson deals 2-1 pitch.
Boy, they have stayed in there all night long, and he just hasn't been able to hit. He's fallen behind. I mean, when you miss, you want to miss in off the plate, not make a mistake. I totally understand. But when you walk, if you walk this guy here, you got a tough left-hander looming.
High pop. Is it going to stay in play? Brantley jogs over near the line. Into foul
Let it
ground.
go.
No, can't get to it. Full count. Eric Hosmer, who following a walk to Kane in the first inning, hit a 3-run homer.
Yeah, jumped on that first pitch.
The 3-2 pitch. Fouled back. Cody's fastball is fouled off by Kane. Alcides Escobar, who doubled to lead off the inning. He's at third now. Following the ground ball out by Moustakas. Infield is in. With the middle of the order here, he's got to make this go through at third base, Escobar, isn't he? You don't think he's going on contact with one out?
No, I don't. They have a 3-run lead. There's really no need to.
Well, he walked him again. 2 on, 1 out. Here's a quick Mazda game break with Al Pulowski.
Hey, Matt, Rick. Let's head to Boston and Chicago. A lot of runs scored. As a matter of fact, 9 in the first 2 innings. Here's a couple of them. David Ortiz, a 2-run homer here, his 20th of the year. It's 5-4 White Sox. They're in the bottom of the 4th at Fenway. Matt?
Chicago jumped out early with 4 in the first. But obviously, no lead is ever safe at Fenway.
Well, careful here. Hosmer, 2 at-bats. He swung at the first pitch both times. 1 for a homer, second one for a ground out.
Line drive, base hit in the right field, and scoring on the play is Escobar. Kane stops at second, and it's 5-1 Kansas City.
He's not going to spot you anything. This is a lot. They swing a lot, like I said the last time that Cody Anderson started against the Brewers. They get aggressive on you. They look for that early fastball, and they will definitely swing it. Now Mickey Callaway is going to come out. So he's driven in 4 runs for the Royals. That was down and in.
Jeff Manship is up in the Cleveland bullpen getting loose. 60 pitches for Cody Anderson. He's thrown a lot of strikes, 40. But this is an aggressive Kansas City lineup. And they have gotten after it here with a 3 spot in the first, a solo homer in the second, and now an RBI single here in the 5th. 2 on, still only 1 out.
There's a long way to go in this season. He's got 17 ribbies already. At 20, looks like it's going to go down. A lot of games to go.
Ball 1 to Kendry Morales, who's 1 for 2. Swing and a miss. That is hammered up the alley in right center. That'll go to the wall. Kane will score. Hosmer flying around third. He gets waved home, and he will score 2. It's a 2-run double for Kendry Morales. And it's a 3-run fifth for Kansas City. Second time tonight they've scored 3 in an inning, and they lead it 7-1.
Yeah, the big inning has killed the Indians on this homestand. And this is like a knockout punch here. Doubles machine. He goes down and in. Morales hits his 26th double. That drives in a pair. Makes it a 7-1 ball game. And you give Morales his 66th, 67th RBI. So they have roughed up the kid here in the fifth. Third time through the lineup.
Up comes Salvador Perez. He's 0 for 2 tonight. And he takes a strike. Back out of play. 0-2. Hopefully things are going much better tonight for Anita Malaragno and Ashtabula. She is celebrating her 95th birthday. She watches all the ball games. Hopefully she's already had her cake. The 0-2. Up and away. And Cody Anderson's first 2 starts at home. He was almost unhittable. But here tonight, much like his last start against Milwaukee, he's been knocked around. His first start at home, he went 7 2/3 shutout innings. And his second start at home, he went 6 2/3 innings and gave up 1 run. But now in his last 2 starts, he's given up 11 earned runs in 7 innings.
He gave up a lot of base hits with 2 outs in Milwaukee. You know, I think 8 out of his 10 hits given up there were with 2 outs. But here, the big one was that 3-run homer in the first. Then they've been able to manufacture here a couple of doubles, single, a walk.
Lindor throws out Perez 2 down. Alex Rios is 0 for 2 on the evening. Struck out both times up. And a pitch in for a called strike. Right at the third baseman, Urshela. And Rios is retired to end the inning. 3 in the first, 3 in the fifth. And Kansas City up big, 7-1. Injury report brought to you by the injury lawyers at Elk & Elk. Kansas City has had to overcome some injuries this year. Alex Gordon, we mentioned on the DL. They've got the platoon situation in left field trying to take care of that. Tim Collins, one of the lefties they lost out of their bullpen, done for the year. And Jason Vargas looked like they were going to get him back. He came back and then quickly went right back on the DL again. But the Royals feel pretty good about their pitching depth, so to speak. It's funny, you know, teams, organizations all use that term, pitching depth, and everyone sort of snickers whenever they hear it because you never have enough pitching depth.
Right. Anybody that says they do, they'll be lying to you.
But with Kansas City, Rick, one of the things they feel pretty fortunate with is that they've got a couple of guys right now in the bullpen, Joe Blanton, Chris Medlin. They've got guys that could, in a pinch, fill in.
Medlin just came back a little bit ago, didn't he? A couple of weeks ago, maybe?
Yeah. And don't forget, somebody's going to go into the bullpen when Johnny Cueto takes his first turn in the rotation.
He's going to start on Friday for Kansas City. They're starting on a 10-game road trip.
There's some thinking that, you know, maybe Chris Young is the odd man out in the rotation, the big guy that will pitch
tomorrow
in this series against the Indians. So who knows?
They head to Toronto after here.
Four-gamer,
and then an off day, and then they go to Detroit. Danny Duffy could also go to that bullpen.
Two offering. Down and in. The payoff pitch. Left field, back goes Dyson. Got turned around a little bit, but makes the catch. One away.
There's the 2-0 pitch that was down out of the strike zone. He gives him the strike right there. Now a 2-1 pitch. Brantley helped him out. It was about the same spot. Now here comes a 3-2 pitch that he walks on. That was the strike. Look at Volquez. It's funny how you look at the emotions of either player in a situation like that. Brantley wasn't happy on the 2-0. Volquez wasn't happy on the 3-2.
Well, it's just like you've always. I'm sure pitchers feel the same way.
Sure, they do.
You don't mind a bad call as long as it's not on strike 3.
If you're the hitter, right?
And I'm sure pitchers feel the same way. Just don't make that bad call on.
If you're going to call a strike on strike 1, call it on strike 3. Or if you're going to call it a ball, call it on ball 4 too. As the hitter, as long as they know, the hitters make adjustments. Pitchers will stay there. Early in the game, they'll find out how far they can go before they have to reel it back in to the plate once you stop calling strikes. That's a pretty good pitch. See, look at him. He's frustrated.
Volquez is upset.
Yeah, that's a pretty good pitch. See, now he's saying, what do I do? That went to a 3-0 count. That was a good pitch. So now he's trying to figure out, what do I have to do to throw a strike here? They're both confused. That's the inconsistency of an umpire. Same spot. All right, he called it a ball again. So now you're not going to get it. Now it's time.
And there's where Perez, the veteran, senses that, and he's going to go out and get him straight.
And he's going to say, you know what, it's 7-1 here. Quit nibbling, let's go. Throw strikes. He's going to settle him down. He's going to let him say his piece. But you know what, you've got a 6-run lead. Go throw strikes. Let your catcher do the talking for you.
Oh, Volquez is fired up out there.
Yeah, he is, but that's exactly what Perez is doing. Settle him down. He wants to find out from the umpire. He better not say anything because it'll get him. Yeah, see, he's saying something now. They're strikes. And that's where Big Perez gets in the way. He smothers the umpire. You can't see him. Got his point across. Like I said, you have a 6-run lead. Don't nibble.
Well, and
Throw
don't
strikes.
I mean, I understand his frustration, but let's not make a mountain out of a molehill with a 6-run lead either.
Exactly.
You know?
That's right. There was nobody on.
The pitch, and Murphy takes low ball 1. There's a strike called to even the count. White Sox rookie Tyler Saladino committing a costly error for the White Sox that allowed Boston to go ahead 6-5 in the 5th at Fenway. Volquez gets ahead of Murphy 1-2. Tampa Bay shutting out Detroit 3-0. They're in the 6th in St. Pete. And a foul back. That's Nathan Carnes with 6 innings of 1-hit shutout baseball for Tampa.
He has good stuff. He's a rookie.
Didn't he pitch a shutout and hit a solo home run to win his last start?
Yes, he sure did.
That was impressive. Now the 1-2. Murphy chops one to first.
He didn't
Hosmer
get over
goes
there.
to second, but there's nobody home to complete the double play.
Volquez, and there's nothing that Hosmer could do. He was just following his throw. Volquez has to get over to first base. He didn't go to first. He didn't break to first. He turned into a spectator. Watch this. It's a pitcher. There it is. Yeah, you're too late now, pal, and he knows it. So they do get the 1 out, but the inning goes on. He knew it was his fault. Got caught window shopping.
Well, 2 down and a runner aboard for Carlos Santana. Santana fly to deep center his last time up. He homered to center in the 2nd. And the 0-1 is a ground ball. And Fonte throws him out. 5 complete. It's the Royals 7, the Indians 1. Time for our Data Strong fan photo of the game. Tweet your photos to hashtag STO Data Strong Fan for a chance to be featured in one of our telecasts, brought to you by T-Mobile. Young man is locked in right there. But right now the Indians are being locked out by Kansas City. 7-1, Royals lead it. And Omar Infante to lead off the sixth. Infante homered in the second, his first home run of the season. Two balls and a strike. Thing about young teams is you never know when they're going to turn the corner, when it's going to click. I mean, 3 years ago, Kansas City was a 90-loss team. 2 years ago, they improved to 86 and 76. Still finished 7 games back in the division. And then last year, they only improved by 3 games. But that was enough to get them into the wild card, and then they took off.
And they never started till the second half of the season. If you remember, they were right around the 500 mark at the All-Star break. They still had a lot of young kids.
Right back to Anderson. I mean, it's not all that long ago, a decade ago. Back in 2005, the Royals lost 106 games. And the following year, they lost 100. They went through a 3-year stretch, 2004, 2005, 06. They lost 310 games in those 3 seasons.
That's Houston-esque with the Astros have done the last few seasons, up until last year.
But on the bright side for the Royals now, they use those horrendous finishes to bolster their farm system
triple?
with good draft picks.
He's
and now
not
those
stopping.
are really starting to pay off for him. Dyson triples with 1 out here in the third.
Yeah, he's not stopping. This guy, he hits a ball and it finds some grass. It's fun to watch. He gets his 5th triple. And down in the corner, because they're playing him the other way, he's just going to keep his head down and watch him go. There goes the rabbit.
Indians will bring the infield in for Alcides Escobar. Escobar 1 for 3, doubled and scored in the 5th. Anderson misses downstairs for ball 1. Could be the final hitter of the night for Cody Anderson. You got the lefty Zipchinski up in the bullpen. Left-handed hitting Mike Moustakas waits on deck. He's only at 80 pitches. There's a pop-up on the infield. Foul ground, Santana. 1 away. Or make that 2 away. And here comes Terry Francona. And that'll be it for Cody Anderson. He goes 5 2/3 tonight. And gives up 8 hits, 7 runs. And he'll be responsible for Gerard Dyson, the runner at third base. Cleveland Clinic call to the bullpen for left-hander Mark Zipchinski. He's coming on when we come back. In-game recap brought to you by your local Toyota dealers. Eric Hosmer with a 3-run homer in the first. Kansas City has continued to add on. The only run for the Indians, a solo homer by Santana. That came in the second. Henry Morales, a 2-run double, part of a 3-run fifth inning. And now Mark Zipchinski on with 2 outs here in the sixth to face Mike Moustakas. Zipchinski with his 45th appearance on the year. Moustakas 1 out of 3. He singled and scored in the first. He's grounded out twice since then. Popped him up. And on one pitch, Zipchinski gets out of the inning. Middle of the sixth, 7-1 Royals.
Well, 2 more Fridays left this year to pregame with $2 domestic beers. In the right field district, fans can get 12-ounce cans for $2 from 5 to 7 on August 7th and August 28th. Go to Indians.com.
Edinson Volquez into the wide on the first pitch to Brandon Moss is down and in, ball 1. Moss walked in the second, struck out in the third.
Boy, most of the times he's gone inside. Moss tonight's been on the changeup. There was a fastball right there he didn't pull the trigger on.
And out of count 1 and 2 as he threw the fastball by him. And Moss goes fishing, strikes out. Third K for Volquez. Twice he's been able to strike out Moss. 1 down here in the 6th. Let's go downstairs to Andre.
Couple things with the Royals and making that trade for Johnny Cueto. They came in today, 21st in starting pitching in ERA, 29th in innings for starters. So obviously Cueto's a guy that can eat innings. But you want to know why they're winning the Central right now? They're 24-15 versus AL Central, and their pitchers have a 2.95 ERA. The Indians have a 4.83 ERA versus AL Central. That tells you a big difference. Their starters haven't eaten innings, guys, but that bullpen's the best, and they pitched well against the AL Central.
Well, that's how you win your division, and you get to the playoffs as you take care of business in your division, and the Indians have been the worst. 14 wins, 26 losses, 12 games under that 500 mark in their division. And that's where Kansas City has been the best.
Ground ball to third, backhanded by Gomes, or excuse me, backhanded by Moustakas, and he throws out Gomes 2 away. Well, you know, you look at Kansas City, where they're at. We talked about the confidence and how they're playing, how it's coming together for this young club. A win tonight puts them 22 games over 500. They haven't been 22 games over 500 in almost 26 years. You have to go back to 1989 at the end of that season. So, I mean, this is a ball club that, I don't know, maybe they peaked last October, maybe they're still reaching their peak, but when you've got that many young players all under control, it's a scary bunch.
Well, I'll tell you what, they've got a great bullpen. It shortens the game. Their starters, as far as Andre just said, they don't eat a lot of innings. They're, 29th in innings pitched. If they could get it, the Cueto's certainly going to help. If they get any help coming back, they're going to be tough. They're going to be tough to beat. They're geared for playoff time. That's exactly why they made that trade. They're looking for the playoffs. And this year they were 1 out away from winning it last year. They want it this year. They can taste it.
The 1-2 pitch. The 1-2. Missed down and in with it. I think folks in Kansas City are also interested to see what kind of an impact Johnny Cueto will have on Yordano Ventura, who's the young flamethrower for Kansas City, who had a tremendous postseason last year. But I understand he's sort of looked up to Cueto, guy he admires greatly. So now that he's on the same staff with him, could help his game because he has not pitched up to their expectations this year. Swing and a miss. Bourne strikes out. The inning is over. The Tribe goes 1-2-3. 6 complete. 7-1 Royals. ClevelandCleveland.com to learn more. By Levin Mattress, located in all Levin furniture and freestanding locations. And by AT&T Uverse, has more channels on the go than cable. (7-1) Kansas City on top, 7th inning. Mark Zipchinski only needed one pitch to retire Mike Moustakas and get out of the 6th inning. Will stay on to work here in the 7th. He's got the right-handed hitting Lorenzo Cain, then the lefty Hosmer, and the switch hitter Morales. And Cain shoots one to right field. His first hit of the night, but he's also walked twice and scored 2 runs. Game 2, Indians-Royals tomorrow night. It will be Trevor Bauer for the Tribe. Chris Young goes for Kansas City. Our coverage begins at 6:30 with Indians Live, followed by the first pitch at 7, right here on Sports Time Ohio. Trevor Bauer, before the ball game tonight, was out, as many of the pitchers do, shagging fly balls during batting practice, and you and I looked down and said, who is that standing next to him? Long and lean, guy looks like a ball player. New player, maybe? No, it was Larry Doby Jr., who was with us a couple of days ago here in the booth. But he wanted to come out and sort of relive past days.
Do a little shagging out in
the nice to see.
For the hitter, sure, why not? He's in town for a couple of more days. Come out to the ballpark, enjoy it. Put a uniform on and go shag.
Pitch in for a strike to Eric Hosmer, who's swung at everything he's seen in the first 3 at-bats.
He sure did. 3 at-bats, 3 pitches.
Low and away, 3 balls and a strike. Pulls it foul. Hosmer, 3-run homer in the first, RBI single in the 5th. And then he pulls it foul.
First inning, 3-run home run. Did some damage there, and then he stepped up. Back in the 5th inning, got another base hit, drove in another run. 2 for 3, 4 ribbies for Hosmer tonight.
Pulls that one in the hole. A base hit, his 3rd hit of the night. Cain will stop at 2nd. And the first 2 Royals aboard here in the 7th.
Well, he goes out there, and that's a breaking ball. That was a pretty good pitch, and he hooked it into the hole. Look at, he was looking at somebody over on the on-deck circle or in the dugout telling him. But he hooked it in the hole, 1st and 2nd, nobody out. Back-to-back hits to start the 7th.
Kendry Morales, the batter. He drove in 2 with a double his last time up. He's 2 for 3. Kansas City, 7 runs on 10 hits now. And Morales shoots one right back up the middle. Kane comes around third. He will score. Bourne's throw goes to third, and a close play, but Hosmer beats the tag. Morales picks up his third RBI on the night, 68th on the year, and it's now an 8-1 Kansas City lead. So with runners at first and third and nobody out, Zepchinski, who retired Moustakas with one pitch to end the sixth inning, does not retire a batter here in the seventh. Timeout for a pitching change.
For kids 12 and under with the purchase of an adult ticket. The tickets are located in the new family deck here at Progressive Field. Log on to Indians.com/kids tickets today.
Jeff Manship with 2 on and nobody out will face Salvador Perez.
Kansas City with 11 hits on the night, 5 of them coming on the first pitch.
That one's too high. Mentioned it before, for whatever reason, Salvador Perez is Mr. Monday. His career batting average on Mondays is .347. He's that guy that comes into the office, he's bouncing around, had a great weekend. Everybody else is laying low. Vladimir Guerrero was a .352 career hitter on Monday. Minnie Minoso hit .350. Ted Williams, .348.
That was probably a down day for Ted.
Ted Williams probably hit .350 every day, right?
Yeah,
What was the difference?
No kidding.
But Salvador Perez is right behind him with .347, and then Wade Boggs at .346. One thing we know, Williams and Boggs were just great hitters. Guerrero was a great bad ball hitter. He hit anything that was within 10 feet of his body.
He sure could.
1-2 pitch. Shoots it to right field. Moss drifting back. Makes the catch. Tagging and coming home to score is Eric Hosmer. And it's 9-1 Kansas City. Perez with his 42nd RBI in the year. One away for Alex Rios. Rios struck out his first 2 times up, grounded to third his last at bat. Missed off the outside edge, 3-0. And a 4-pitch walk. 2 on, 1 out. Omar Infante will be the batter. Boy, a tough night for Tyler Saladino in Chicago. He committed his second error. Boston went ahead of the White Sox 7-6. And then Adam Eaton came right back and hit a double to drive in a run, and they're tied at 7.
He's got 2 errors then tonight, huh?
Yeah, and both of them have led directly to runs.
He made some good plays here in the 4-game series.
But
he's
you
normally
mentioned
a second baseman.
He's not really a third baseman.
So you make that first error, maybe it starts getting into your brain over there. And that's the small ballpark of Fenway. Long way to go. It's only the 6th in that ball game.
Infante went after it, called a strike, 1-1. Double play ball, Kipnis to Lindor on the first. They turn 2 to end the inning. Royals tack on 2 more. They lead it 9-1 as we reach the 7th inning stretch, brought to you by Spitzer Auto World. Paulo Orlando coming on for Kansas City, takes over in left field. Gerard Dyson goes from left to center. Lorenzo Cain's night is over. Giovanni Urshela takes up and in ball 1. Urshela 1 for 2. He singled in the second.
Oh, he swung.
got a piece of it.
Yeah, he sure did. He didn't want to. He wanted to hold up, but he started. That ball had some run going inside. Lucky to get out of the way.
The 1-2 from Volquez. Bounces in front of the plate. He's just over 100 pitches on the night. Volquez trying to finish 6 innings. They gave him an early lead. They spotted him 4 before the Indians got their only run in the second. And they've tacked on to enable Volquez to just sit back and cruise, really. He's walked 3, struck out 4. Hasn't really been overpowering or especially sharp, but he's done enough to keep the Indians at bay.
Yeah, well, you get him some runs early, and he can afford to go out there and make a few mistakes. But
you know, James Shields is now in San Diego, did a fantastic job for KC. But, you know, getting Cueto gives them, Rick, I would think, a legitimate number 1 to start. You know,
yeah.
when you talk about a team built for the playoffs.
No doubt. A guy, he won 20 games last year, 20-9 with Cincinnati with an ERA, you know, mid-2s. What a year he is. He's one of the best pitchers in the game when he's on it. We caught him down in Cincinnati after the All-Star break. He walked 6. The Indians still couldn't score, but he walked 6. And he did not look good that game. You know, you don't know what was going through his mind because there was a lot of the trade talk after the All-Star game and things happened. And then little do you know, his next start, he goes out there, and then they have somebody warming up next to him. You know, that night because of the trade deadline, it fell through because something happened with one of the players in return.
I think it ticked him off.
It did. He was upset and ended up going out pitching 8 shutout innings.
As promised earlier, it's Miller time, brought to you by Miller Lite. A couple of years ago in Kansas City, Jason Kipnis had that drive to deep left, and Alex Gordon got turned around and smacked his head on the outfield wall. It was an inside-the-park home run for Kipnis, but Gordon was down for the count. Suffered a concussion.
Yeah, left that game. He missed about a week after that.
Kipnis 2 for 2. His first 2 trips, both singles. Last time up, he flied to center to end the 4th inning when the Indians went 1-2-3.
Right now, Volquez is all over the place. Very well could be his last hitter.
Well, you know, Rick, you mentioned it earlier. Kansas City's bullpen lights out, number 1 in the league. But, you know, that's the good news. There's always a but. The problem is I'm sure for Ned Yost, he's like, look, we still have 2 months to go to get through the season. We can't continue to go to the bullpen in the 6th inning every single night or in the 7th inning we need somebody to get us deeper into games, to take some of the innings, the wear and tear off those guys so that they're sharp in crunch time when they need them down the stretch.
It would be nice if you could do that. But, you know, I don't care how big a lead you have, you can't leave a guy out there to die. And right now he looks like he's at the end. He's done.
Well, that's my assumption as to why he's back out here. I thought for sure he was done at the end of 6. But I think this is just a product of Ned Yost trying to say, let's try to squeeze another inning out of our starters if we can. But it didn't work tonight. So he'll have to go to his bullpen in the 7th with 2 on and nobody out. Royals comfortably in front, 9-1. It's the veteran Joe Blanton who's coming on next. Hey, this Saturday, Angels and Dodgers on Fox Sports 1. Coverage begins at 3:30 Eastern on Fox Sports 1 and also stream live on Fox Sports Go. Joe Blanton coming out of pitch now for Kansas City. Every year, when teams go to spring training, there are these guys that are in camp that are referred to as non-roster invitees.
Right.
And I'm sure fans always look at that and say, what does that mean? Well, those are guys that you invite them to camp. They don't have a roster spot. You just hope that either, A, they show you something, maybe you have an injury and there's a spot becomes available, or in the case of the player, at least it gives you a platform. Maybe somebody else will see you.
This is part of the depth situation we're talking about.
For Kansas City, it worked out beautifully. Joe Blanton, Ryan Madsen, and Franklin Morales, all three went to camp as non-roster guys, and all three have become important members of this Kansas City bullpen.
Well, Blanton has made 4 starts for him at some point in time this year.
Yeah, he's been sort of the swing man. First ball swinging. Lindor sends one high in the air. Deep right center field. It is gone. A 3-run homer for Francisco Lindor. His 4th home run of the season. And the first pitch Blanton makes ends up out there in the bullpen seats. And Lindor injects some life into this Indians ball club. It's a 9-4 ball game. Lindor's been the one guy who's really been swinging it of late. He's now hit in 6 games in a row. That's his 9th hit in his last 22 at-bats.
And a 3-pointer. That'll be our McDonald's I'm loving it for Francisco Lindor. He didn't waste any time.
6th home run allowed by Blanton in 38 2/3 innings of work. So many times this year, Rick, the Indians have done a good job of being patient, drawing their walks, but how many times just they can't string anything together with it or cash in? This time they get the 2 walks, and Lindor
it's nice to see. Yes, it is nice to see it, get that offense or do something, but unfortunately they were down 9-1, but you got to get the offense rolling. And 2 walks, so Volquez closed the door on him. He gives up 3 runs because of the 2 walks that led this inning off. And there's the first pitch fastball. It's right down Broadway. And he took advantage of it. So he hits his 4th home run.
Murphy pops one up into foul territory, and the catcher, Perez, has it 2 down. You mentioned Blanton with the 4 starts. He made those 4 starts between June 17th and July 4th. But, the veterans come in and done a nice job. And again, as we said before, when you add Johnny Cueto, not only is somebody going to lose a spot in the starting rotation, somebody's going to lose a spot on the roster, too.
Well, that's true.
Breaking ball in there for a strike. Santana takes its low 1-1. Two balls, 1 strike. Down and in, 3-1. Pulls it foul. 3 balls, 2 strikes with 2 down and the bases empty here in the 7th. That one goes foul again. I don't know how you look at Lindor in terms of how he'll develop as a hitter. He's got pretty good pop for a guy that doesn't look like a guy that would hit the ball for a lot of power.
Well, a couple of times the last homestand, he drove him to left field, which really surprised me.
Santana strikes out to end the inning, but Francisco Lindor lifts one out of here. A 3-run shot. Presented by authority of the Cleveland Indians and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cleveland Indians. Stay tuned for Indians Live, presented by Conrad's Tire Express and Total Car Care. Coming up next, 9-4, Kansas City. New pitcher is Austin Adams. Right-hander making his 16th appearance, a win, no losses, ERA 3.26. He'll be facing Gerard Dyson, Alcides Escobar, and Mike Moustakas. 13,611 the attendance here tonight. Royals jumped on the Indians with 3 in the first, a 3-run homer by Eric Hosmer. Solo shot in the second by Omar Infante. It was 4-0 before the Indians would finally get on the board first on a solo shot from Santana. But Kansas City added 3 in the fifth, 2 more in the seventh. And then Francisco Lindor with a 3-run homer to get the Indians to within 9-4. Dyson tripled his last time up. That's going to slice out of play.
Dyson moved to center field an inning or two ago. They took Kane out, give him a rest. This is a guy that's getting the bulk of the playing time with Alex Gordon out.
He strikes out, 1 away.
Make this our Circle K strikeout tonight. You go down and get that slider. Gets Dyson to swing over the top of it. Short hop it. Gomes will tag him. Out number 1 on the strikeout.
Alcides Escobar 1 for 4, doubled and scored in the fifth. Out of play to the right. You know, Rick, the one thing that we anticipated with Francisco Lindor is that he would play good defense, that he was ready to play at this level with the glove. The question was offensively, how much would you get from him? Would you see? How many adjustments would he be able to make? Well, I think he's a quick study because since the All-Star break, he has more hits than anybody on this club with 15 now.
You don't know what it's going to take, but I'll tell you what, he's held his own. He's been swinging the bat very well. He brings a little energy to this ball club. It's not easy to step into that number 2 spot when you're a rookie. You know, a lot of pressure. He's in between Kipnis and Brantley. And I'll tell you what, to me, it seems like he's thriving on it, which is a good deal. And, you know, he's still a young kid. He's going to learn a lot. He'll make mistakes, but he'll continue to learn. And it seems like once you tell him once, he learns. You know, he gets it.
Left field. Brantley moving back just shy of the warning track. Makes the grab 2 down. And to Lindor's right, you've got Giovanni Urshela, who has a hit tonight. He's also walked and scored a run. And Urshela's picked up a hit in 6 straight games. He, like Lindor, you kind of knew defensively he'd be okay. He's been better than okay. And offensively, I don't know, Rick, is it a luxury that he's been able to hit down on the lineup?
Yeah, I think so. It takes a little pressure off him where he doesn't feel like he has to do a whole lot. But, you know, they've certainly settled down the left side of the infield defensively. And they're young. They're going to learn, you know, offensively. You don't expect them to come up and be big contributors. Anything they give you is like a bonus. It's almost like a catcher. You come in, you say, look, you catch and throw and you handle the pitchers. Yeah. Anything you add is going to be a bonus. For young hitters like that's true too. But they show signs. You know, he's had some big hits. And teams are making adjustments. They don't know him yet, you know, so they're going to get some fastballs to hit. You want to see him get off to a little success and have some fun early. Because that second time through and the teams that they've faced a few times, I'll make adjustments.
That's why it will be important going forward for Kipnis and Brantley and Gomes.
Well, yeah. I mean, even tonight, Cody Anderson, he found out it's his second straight start where he's found some aggressive teams.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3. Go the Royals here in the 8th. Bottom of the 8th inning. Brandon Moss going to lead it off for the Indians. Swing and a miss. And a count quickly 0-2. Bloop towards center, dropping, and a base hit for Moss. The Indians get their leadoff man aboard here in the home half of the 8th inning.
As a third baseman, you don't have to run this far usually to catch a ball, but with the shift on an 0-2 pitch, he gets it over the head, and it's almost like Moustakas has to turn into a shortstop. And that angle he went after, that's a tough play. It falls for a base hit. If Escobar was on that side of the field, I'll bet that play would have been made. But with the shift, he was over on the right side. Moss gets a single.
Found right back. One ball and one strike. Yan Gomes 0 for 3. Twice was flied to center. Last time up, he grounded out to third. Joe Blanton with a 1-1. And it's a little called strike. Gomes says, oh, come on.
Their knees have moved tonight to where their ankles are.
It's like Dorf on golf. And now he rings up Gomes, who rather than say anything just turns and walks away. Second strikeout for Blanton.
He'll get a chance to talk to him when he puts the gear back on and go behind the plate.
Oh.
That one was better than the one before that. Not to say it was. It's been a low strike zone tonight.
Michael Bourne 0 for 3 on the night. Bourne sends a fly ball to center field. Dyson is going to make the catch. 2 down. Kansas City's bullpen has logged 327 innings of work coming into tonight. Only Tampa Bay has pitched more out of their bullpen, but they've played 3 more games than the Royals have. As we get on to Andre Knott, how's that going to play out the rest of the year for these guys?
That is a $1 million question. And let's be honest, the 3 guys that matter the most in all those innings you're talking about, Wade Davis, Herrera, and Greg Holland, they're on pace to have over 70 to 75 innings between those 3 guys each. Now, I know Arch doesn't agree with me, but come the end of August and come October, that could become a problem for this Royals team.
High pop right in front of the plate. We'll continue this spirited debate when we come back. Yan Gomes came out, and there was a little bit of a spirited conversation.
Well, I knew he was going to talk to him when he went out there, and he didn't say nothing when it was strike 3. So.
All right, back to live action. It almost appeared, Rick, that Barksdale might have been saying, hey, you know what, I might have missed it. I might have been low. I don't know. But it didn't look like it was to the point where he was. Usually if an umpire's being second-guessed, they're pretty quick, and you're going to get run. That did not appear to be the case there.
He didn't show him up, though. It wasn't at the call. He had his time to come back out, and they could talk about it. If he would have had that discussion right after he called strike 3, it would have been different. Gomes was smart. He waited. He knew he was going to have a chance to talk to him and tell him it was a ball.
Or at least that he thought it was low. Well, we've already learned the one thing you don't want to do is go back and say, hey, I looked at it on video. You were wrong.
Yeah.
That'll get you the quick thumb.
That doesn't play well. A lot of times after games, umpires will go back in and they'll look at the video too. on calls that they feel that were close. But they felt were strikes. Other players won't. They'll go back and review it. Why wouldn't they?
Depends on the umpire. Depends on the individual. Remember, weren't we in Chicago? It was Wrigley Field when Michael Bourne got rung up, and then
yes,
as he was going back onto the field at the end of the inning, he stopped to say something.
He watched the video,
and he got a quick devo.
But then again, so did Miguel Montero.
Yeah.
He got run, and Madden came awfully close too in that one. That's the only way you get run anymore. Can't argue anymore on bang plays. Let's go to the video.
The 0-2. Right at Lindor. Quick bobble. Tries to recover, but not in time. Orlando runs well, and he beats it out. It'll be an error on Lindor. Pat O'Brien Chevrolet play of the game. Eric Hosmer in the first. After Lorenzo Cain had walked, the first pitch Cody Anderson threw to him. It was up, it was away, and he drove it out of here to the bleachers. Quick 3-spot for Kansas City, and they've never looked back.
Yes.
And he went around 0-1. Just missed outside, and the count is 1-1. In the dirt. Santana with a short hot pick, looked to second, but he'll take the sure out at first, one away. And Orlando in the scoring position with one out. Stay tuned for Indians Live, presented by Conrad's Tire Express and Total Car Care, coming up next here on Sports Time Ohio. Kenry Morales, the batter. 3 straight hits on the night. He singled in the third, 2-run double in the fifth, drove in a run with a single in the 7th inning. So now 68 RBIs on the year for Morales, who's among the league leaders coming in. Out of play. Austin Adams deals, and a pitch down and in. 1-2. Adams worked to 1-2-3-8. And he should be looking at a 1-2-3-9 if not for the error by Lindor. That's why Orlando is aboard. 1-2 pitch. Chop to third. Urshela checks Orlando, throws to first, and Orlando takes off for third. But there are 2 down. Really not a whole lot Urshela could do there. You've got to look him back, but you can't wait too long because it's a long throw across.
Yeah, you don't worry about him. You get 2 outs now, he moves up a base. You got to get the out right there, and he was just timing it. Nobody was over at third anyway. So, I mean, although Adams did go over there and hustle, but you get the second out.
And the batter is Salvador Perez, who picked up an RBI with a sac fly his last time up. Popped up. Out goes Kipnis. He's there and makes the catch. We head to the bottom of the ninth. 9-4 KC. Looking back at our keys to the game, brought to you by Wayside Furniture. Cody Anderson was rocked tonight for 7 runs and 5 2/3. And offensively, Indians got into a big hole early and unable to really generate much tonight. Had some opportunities in the first 3 innings.
That's been the theme this year, is they fall behind early and it's always catch up. And, you know, this is, even though they have 2 home runs, they have a 3-run homer. You can't catch up when you're down 9-1.
Jason Kipnis takes a look 1-1. Rip foul on the right side. Well, Rick, 2 of the worst innings this year for the Indians. Well, I guess you could say they're the 2 worst innings for the Tribe this year has been the first and the 7th. And those trends continued here tonight as Kipnis leads off the bottom of the 9th with a single. They've been outscored by 26 runs at home this year in the first inning. Total of 40-14.
Yeah.
So, consistently you're getting behind early. Then in the 7th inning, when you're trying to make maybe that comeback run, that's where the bullpen has been a problem area for the Tribe because they've been outscored at home in the 7th inning. Even though the Tribe scored 3 tonight in the 7th.
Yeah.
36-18.
That's when
You're trying to come back when you get behind early, and you give them a couple of runs late, and it just gets away.
Yeah, that's some add-on when you give the other people, and it takes you out of a ball game.
Lindor bounces one to second, and the Royals turn a double play.
Yeah, pull that ball and you make the 4-6-3 double play. Infante gives it over to Escobar, gets it just in time before Lindor can beat it out.
Michael Brantley takes a strike. Foul back. Foul right back. A smash to short. It handcuffs Escobar. He recovers, throws, and he got him to end the game. As Led Zeppelin once sang, the song remains the same here for Cleveland. They lose their 5th straight. They've dropped 9 of their last 12. The final tonight, Kansas City 9, Cleveland 4, as the Indians lose their Major League leading 31st game at home this season. And this one was a no-doubter from the get-go as the Royals jumped them with a 3-spot in the first and never looked back.
Yeah, another tough one. Again, we talked about it, a first-inning home run, a crooked number. There's been a lot of crooked numbers on this homestand to this point by the opposition. So they jump out early, they score first, and it's just tough to play catch-up baseball. And no matter how hard you try, no matter how hard you're struggling, Kansas City, a team that's been very hot. They've been winning a lot of series. They won 5 out of their last 6. So they've got some work to do tomorrow, the Indians do. Again.
Royals go to 60-38 with the win. Indians fall to 45-53. Edinson Volquez gets the win. He's 10-5. The loser, Cody Anderson, he's now 2-2. We're back with you tomorrow night for Game 2 of this series at 7 Eastern here on Sports Time Ohio. For Rick Manning and Andre Knott, I'm Matt Underwood. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for Indians Live coming up next.